We are back from London and we are on a rainbow high after seeing Evita at the London Palladium, starring Rachel Zegler, directed by Jamie Lloyd. And today we are here to give you our thoughts on this show. No better time, like literally a day before it closes on the West End.
But it's obviously coming to Broadway, am I right?
We'll see. Hi, my name is Eric.
And I'm Jerry.
And we are two gay theater-loving guys who have started reviewing theater on YouTube. Usually, so far, it's been based out of LA. We've been seeing LA shows, but 2 weeks ago, we went all the way across the pond to London. Me for the very first time, Jerry for his like fifth or sixth time. But one of the main reasons we went was to see Evita. You can see it. Well, you can see the poster and also your hat. We saw Evita. This show has been on our radars for a while, specifically this production, for multiple reasons. One, because of the star of this production of Evita, Rachel Zegler. Heard of her? Iconic woman, diva. And also because of the director, Jamie Lloyd, also iconic diva. Not a woman, as far as I know.
For the show, since I saw the movie when I was like 5, and it was probably one of my little baby gay awakenings. I remember like being obsessed with Madonna on the balcony and like playing with my Barbies like on the balcony, and it's a beautiful show. It has beautiful music
by Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Yes,
music by Andrew Lloyd Webber, lyrics by Tim Rice.
But it is a weird show. Like I remember when I saw it again, like when I saw it on stage for the very first time, it was the national tour, and I thought it was odd. Like I was like, I didn't love it. Like it's beautiful music, but it's strange. I do think that, for example, the movie, and we'll talk about this later, but the movie kind of like is more sympathetic towards Eva, and I do feel like the show, at least in its original conception, it's a little bit more like, I want to say not anti-Eva, but like definitely criticizing like strongly, right?
Right. And we should say this musical is based on the real person, Eva Peron, in case you don't know.
We should start by that. So Evita is a show based on the real life of Eva Peron, which was the first lady of Argentina to Juan Peron, and her
controversial.
Life was very controversial. She started as an actress, and then she ended up marrying Juan Peron, and they became this very intense
political power couple.
Power couple that was very leftist, almost authoritarian ideals. I don't know too much about the history, so sorry to my Argentine fans.
But that's okay, because neither does the musical Evita seem to really know or care much about the actual facts of Eva Peron's life.
Yes and no. I will say, I do think it's a show that, like, if you know the little bit of the history of it, it does shine. But this show also does stuff a little bit differently.
This production, you mean.
And I think it's probably both for the better and like worse of the actual Eva Peron, but I do think more for the better.
Yeah.
I would argue. And so, like I said before, so this was my third time seeing the show. I've seen it once in the national tour, and then I saw a regional production in San Diego that was also really good, and my friend was an amazing Eva in. And and so this was my third time, but honestly, this staging, wow. Like, incredible. I think the whole concept is just so new. Jamie Lloyd has wowed us with the concepts like in Sunset Boulevard, but I do think this even is, I don't know, it made me, it was definitely way different, even though a lot of people are saying like the minimalist aspects but this is minimal but also grandiose in its staging, because it's really like a concert staging, right?
And this is my actual first time seeing the show live. I think I saw a bootleg, I think of the same tour that you saw, but I saw the bootleg of the Elena Rogers and Ricky Martin version from like 2012. talk about gay awakening, Ricky Martin and the musical Evita in the same place at the same time. I've actually never seen the movie, but with this production specifically being directed by Jamie Lloyd, someone that we're both huge fans of, Jamie Lloyd is most well known for his recent production of Sunset Boulevard that was on the West End and just recently closed on Broadway. I did a video about Sunset Boulevard here on this channel that you can watch about Jamie Lloyd's meta concept that he brings to most of his staging productions. He loves to include things like video elements on stage. He's known for his minimalism. And he's known for his very abstract style of staging. And coming into this production of Evita, we were both excited because we have both watched the Sunset Boulevard version somehow. Somehow we watched it. And for me, that production of Sunset Boulevard is one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. And so it was like an immediate sell for me as soon as they announced that both Rachel Zegler was going to star in this production and Jamie Lloyd was going to be directing this production on the West End. And yeah, I think with Evita, Jamie Lloyd's style suits it really well because Evita, while yes, being a stage show similar to Jesus Christ Superstar and Julia Roberts' other early musical, started as a concept album first before it was conceived as a stage production. So I think in Jamie Lloyd's approach of staging this show minimally like a concert, it sort of brings out that album element. Think of I think the closest comparison is like Beyonce's Homecoming. With this staging, it's even like the way that the stage is set, it's like risers on tiers, stairs going up. It's like trusses and crazy concert style lighting. So really the way into this production is not thinking of it as a biographical retelling of the life of Eva Peron, but Eva Peron's life conceived as a pop star concert.
Yes. And it's funny that you meant, so the concept album is very interesting because also another, concept album famously that Andrew Lloyd Webber wrote is Jesus Christ Superstar. And this show for the very first time, I'd never seen a video this way, but this show for the very first time made me realize how similar they are. Because Evita is this Jesus-like figure, right? And she has an image, right?
She's a saint.
And she is a saint. And so there's that, but also in this production specifically, one of the choices that I love that Jamie Lloyd made was that for the most part in the other two productions that I've seen, and I think in Eddie production in the movie as well, I do think that it's almost like Eva is living her life, right? And Eva communicates with Che, right?
Che being the narrator of the show.
But Che is the narrator, right? Che is the narrator. And
he's sort of a man of the people, one of the descamisados.
And Che sees us. So I feel like in every production I've seen, Che sees us, Evita sees Che, but she doesn't see us, right? Or rarely.
We are seeing Eva's life through his frame, but she's not necessarily aware of us, the audience, in most productions.
And in this production, that's thrown out of the window, because in this production, what I loved the most was that both Eva and Che see us, the audience, the entire time. And it's almost like they're battling in this concert, to control the narrative of the story.
Competing for our attention.
Who gets to control the narrative of this story, right? Does Eva tell her story or does Che? And it's a very... First of all, I think it does many things. It's much more engaging as an audience member to sit through that. But also, it kind of I think... is a little bit more sympathetic towards Eva in a funny, kind of like the movie did, but in a very different way, because here we like Rachel. Rachel's so charming, and we'll talk about her actual performance in a bit, but there's that competition that how could you not fall in love, right, with Eva? And she sees you, and she sees the people. So you feel that pull, and you also feel Che's pull, and you're seeing stuff that's happening to Che, because a lot of stuff actively happens to Che in this production. And I think that back and forth is so much more fun. And it reminded me a lot of Jesus Christ Superstar and Judas, right? That's that dynamic that's very exciting to watch on stage.
Right. And because of Rachel Zegler's casting, it's an incredibly meta casting choice, because yes, it's how could you not love Eva, because how could you not love Rachel Zegler? How can you not love her talent, her brilliant shining star personality that comes through in this staging?
So should we move into Rachel?
Let's just get into what we thought about the cast, yes, because Rachel Zegler, this is one of the most incredible live performances I've ever seen from a performer on stage.
Truly.
And that's a lot coming from having just seen Cynthia Erivo in Jesus Christ Superstar at the Bowl.
I agree. Like, it's one of those, I truly thought, like, after the show ended, like, you know, when they ask you, like, what's the most memorable or, like, performance you've ever seen on stage live? And this is, like, what comes to mind. It's like, she was phenomenal. Not only were her vocals insane, but also her acting, her charisma. Like, this is a role that was, like, perfection for her.
And really suited to, like, the actual Eva Peron. I feel like in most versions I've seen, the actress playing Eva is a little bit older than she really was. Like, Rachel is right in the pocket to play Eva Peron because Eva Peron rose to power in her, like, mid-20s. So you see, like, the youthful superstar energy coming out of every single pore on her body.
That is something also that I bring to mind. I mean, it's a direction thing, but also her. I do think that that's also something that makes you very sympathetic towards Eva. Like, I think the fact that she is young, and there's references to it in the show, but I've never seen them brought up so much because of just her casting and the way she looks on stage. She looks like Charlie XCX. She looks like a pop star, like with her little
like black bralette, like tight black leather skirt.
And at the end, it's like, you know, you kind of feel sympathetic for her. It's like, you know, I did this because I do think it shows you an Eva that did all she did because she really did believe in it. It's not like she was like doing it mean. I think other productions sometimes paint her in she was just taking advantage of everything.
She's a little conniving little
and I
woman.
feel like this one is like, oh no, she wanted to do a certain thing and she did believe, right? Or at least that's what the production left me. It's like she did love the people that she was like serving.
Yeah, and she's young, and young people make mistakes.
Exactly.
And sometimes young people, like, when they're young and hungry and have a thirst for power, they don't always make the correct choices.
Exactly.
Which is also similar to how people actually feel about the real person, Rachel Zegler, which is why she is so perfectly cast in this. Because you can't also not consider the way that people on the internet treat Rachel Zegler a certain way because she's a young woman who has strong opinions.
And like on that, obviously the have I said, the both times that she says, have I said too much? It's like,
in Don't Cry For Me.
Especially the second time, like towards the end of the reprise. I really got hit by that because it was her, right? There was an element of metacasting. But I will say, and that's why she's so well cast, I think a lot of people felt the same way about the real Eva Peron. And that's why I'm like, I do think that even though it doesn't tell, like maybe if you could get a little lost in that because it's not a very, factual, visually telling the story of the real Eva Peron.
And also, we're so far away in history from the real Eva Peron at this point. A lot of people who were more aware of her in the 70s, not as many people are aware of the real Eva Peron now.
Yeah.
So they're able to, with Rachel's performance, we are able to get a clearer idea of like, oh, this is why why
exactly.
Eva was such a beloved person.
And that's why I do think it is faithful. If you read, I will say, our beautiful program has a little inlet about Eva Peron, right? And so you can read
Wait, can we show them? So, programs will have all the headshots and bios of all the actors. Rachel Zegler as Ava gets a whole
our queen.
2-page spread. And then if you go one page over,
shoot.
Go one page over and then there's everybody else.
But I do think that, yes, in that case, I do think it's more faithful to Eva. It's like it is this figure that a lot of people still to this day, and the program, there's a little article, but like if you read anywhere, like people to this day, there's elements of Peronism that are still in Argentina. Like it's still a thing. Like, and she did stuff that is still repercuting today in our world.
Because Eva Peron, in a way, was the first political pop star. And I think that while this production doesn't necessarily get or really seem to be interested in getting the factual events of her life correct, it is interested in the story of her, and that story is told really well, even if the facts themselves are not as clear when it comes to how things really played out with her and her life. Exactly. And I think that is what Jamie Lloyd's direction is perfect at capturing, is the feelings more so than the facts. Because when it comes to politicians, so oftentimes how they make people feel is more interested in the actual facts of who they are and what they want to do. There are absolutely no parallels to our current political moments of a media star suddenly becoming an incredibly powerful political figure.
But even I would say in the entire world, I mean, we live obviously in a very celebrity culture, and it's It's very telling of even like seeing how it feels. Like again, you feel sympathetic towards both Eva and Jay, and it's like you see you're feeling these two feelings of like, oh, this is how people. I do think we do live in a society that.
We do live in a society.
We do live in a society. No, we live in a world that I think it's hard, especially in the internet. It's like hard to get out of your own bubble, right? And I do think that this enables you to feel, okay, this is why people were so drawn to this person, right? This is what they felt.
Even if she made a lot of really bad choices that really hurt a lot of people.
Yeah, so it's very interesting in that way.
Right.
And also, I just want to say I don't know if I'll come back for it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'll come back for the
balcony. The balcony.
Yeah,
that'll be a whole thing later
okay.
to the end because that is kind of like the moment that everyone wants to hear
let's
about.
move on to Che.
Che, as played by Diego Andres Rodriguez in this production. I mean, it's hard for me to say, like, this is the best Che I've ever seen. I've only seen Evita with Ricky Martin in the role, but I really loved this performance because of, again, how he was utilized in this show. The way that he is this chaotic, almost like, I want to say like Puck in A Midsummer Night's Dream, kind of like, he is narrating the action, but in this production is also in a way kind of like dictating how Eva makes her decisions, if that makes any sense. I don't know what I just said.
I think what's cool about this is that, first of all, Diego is so charming and has this very, I mean, when he comes out, he reminded me like Bad Bunny of like, because the way also he's dressed, he's very, Eva's in this little bralette, but then he's in this like, oversized shirt and shorts, and he has the chains, and he's
very
cool, and he's so
Eva and Che are also like only costumed in black for most of the show. Most of the ensemble is like changing costumes a ton. Eva only has like one major costume change. Che doesn't change costumes for the entire show. I should point out costumes and scenic
he just starts taking it off.
Yeah, costumes and scenic by Sutra Gilmore. I think that's a huge part of like how we do see the way that these characters are framed in the show is because of the costuming. By putting both of them in black, they are both sort of starting on this equal plane at the start of the show. Che in this very like black streetwear, and Eva in kind of this sort of black streetwear, but over the course of the show, her station rises and his stays mostly the same.
All right, and then it goes less. Like he ends the show.
The show ends
in
with
boxers, as is common in Jamie Lloyd production.
As Jamie Lloyd loves to do, take clothes off a man and cover him in goop. We love to see it.
But yes, overall, I do think that it was a new take of Che. Of like he starts very cool. I feel like Che is usually a little one note during the not. I mean, and not to anybody who has played him. I think the character is written to be a little bit more one note,
and he's usually framed as like a progressive activist leader, similar to like Che Guevara, who I think Che's not literally supposed to be based on, but a lot of his imagery in the original production at least was based on Che from the Cuban resistance dictatorship. Also controversial figure, not going to get into that person.
But in this one, I do think that he starts as that and then slowly goes like almost being dehumanized, like in a way, and ends it with like a very haunting, like I would say most of the second act, he just goes into this very haunting place.
Because he sort of takes on the consequence of Ava's leadership in a way. Like she has this thirst for power and fame and wealth and also wants to help the people, but then ends up failing them in a lot of ways. And Che kind of becomes like the figurehead for the results of her failure by sort of falling lower and lower in his station, being declothed, being dehumanized, being covered in blood and white and yellow and blue, like the Argentina colors.
And yeah, very.
He becomes a victim of her liberty.
I just realized that also another big power couple that we love in musical theater that happens too is Glinda and Elphaba. And I think
whoa, Eva and Che are Glinda and Elphaba. You heard it here first.
But it really is like, and I think that's the brilliance of Jamie Lloyd's staging, that it is this. They made the two, because the two characters have equal footing instead of like Che just being the narrator. It made it so much more engaging. So yeah, that's really cool.
We should also move on to James Olivas as Juan Peron.
Yes.
LA-based actor. We just saw him not too recently. He was in the Deaf West production of American Idiot here at Center Theater Group. and moved on to the West
We've
End.
also seen him like in a bunch of stuff. I didn't know. I remember. I forgot that he was in Destiny of Desire at the Old Globe, and he was also in Secret Garden here at the Almanzon. So exciting to see that he's doing amazing stuff. His Peron is a very, because he is, a hugely important role. But also, he doesn't show up as much in the musical. Like, Che and Eva really are the people that are in, it's like... Che
They're the ones on stage most of the entire show.
But I do think that something that that James adds a lot is that he is... First of all, he's very handsome and has, like, this very beautiful stature. He's so tall.
He is.
And I think seeing him with Rachel, who's, like, tiny, adds this really interesting, like, thing to it.
It's because even though she is so small, she ends up sort of eclipsing his power and his legacy, despite him being like physically so much taller than her.
Yes, but I do think he the moments that he has are really, really good, and his vocals are beautiful. He has a beautiful, like, deep, very classical voice. So
he brings a sweetness to Peron I think I've never seen. Usually Peron is trying to kind of portray, factually, like the real Juan Peron is this very aggressive, very bald. James was not bald in this, but like very aggressive, very machismo kind of guy. And James has this sweetness and tenderness to him that in a way you kind of see the way that Eva is able to like manipulate his softness for her gain in her desire for power. Especially near the end of the first act, you have a couple of moments where James as Juan Peron is like sort of questions like, should we really, run for office? Should we really be the people in power here? What we could just quit now. We could have a fine life and go somewhere else. And Eva's desire and her thirst for power, because absolutely not. No, you are going to do this thing, and we are going to run this country, and we are going to show the people that we can do this. And it's one of those moments of you see the darker side of Eva's desire in this. In a production that does a good job of showing both her innocence and her genuine care, and also like the part of her that's maybe a little more devious and a little more willing to throw people under the bus to get what she wants.
Yeah, and I do. Like I said, I agree with like the innocence part. He also looks younger than like any Peron that we've seen because he has hair. But, like no,
and a tiny little tie, which I love.
No, he does give up this like preppy boy in power thing, and I think James does that like perfectly.
Bella Brown as the mistress. Who was also the Eva understudy.
Just look up some of her videos for... If
you've been seeing videos of Rachel singing Rainbow High, you should also do yourself a favor and look up videos of Bella Brown singing Rainbow High. Oh, and everything. She's been the alternate for Eva, and there are clips of her, especially her Argentina on the balcony when she goes outside. We're going to get to that moment. But Bella Brown also in this production plays the mistress. One of the... surprisingly most emotional moments of the show for me. I don't know if you were like as moved by her performance of another suitcase in another hall, but
both her performance and the staging of that is really, really cool. And it tells a very, again, like a lot of this show like tells another side to what you've already seen. And I loved that.
It's a great example of the way that the staircase, the tiers of the stage are utilized in this show, because the mistress is. She is the one who is seeing Juan Peron before Eva is in the picture. And when we meet her, she is at the top of this staircase with Peron. And over the course of her song, as she is deposed by Eva, is sort of like going further and further and further down these tiers. We see her with this like bright blue, like manic pixie girl, like blue hair wig. And at the end of her number is met at the bottom of the stairs with some of the other females in the ensemble who all have this sort of very generic like blue just kind of frock thing on. And at the end of the number, they put it over her, take off her hair, and suddenly she looks just like everyone else again. And it's sort of like showing how she is sort of forced to step back into the background and become just like everyone else after she had this taste of like what her life could be if she was able to rise above her station and become this person who is more unique than everyone else that's similar to her. Also want to shout out Aaron Lee Lambert as Magaldi. He is kind of like the first real character we meet in the show, that Eva interacts with. Che sort of being like this otherworldly third-person narrator, but Magaldi is Eva's window into the world, especially of Buenos Aires. He has this great like cabaret singer, very powerful, very, I would say more so than Peron. He is like the big masculine energy that really like crashes into the beginning of this show.
I do think that I love what I loved about his performance specifically, because again the show lives in this weird concert space, right? And so they're allowed to make more exaggerated things and choices. And I do think his Night of 1,000 Stars is like so funny, because it's so, you know, Magaldi was supposed to be this very cheesy, like the real Magaldi was supposed to be very cheesy singer, and so he really exaggerates even with his voice. Like he's like, like, so I thought that was great. Aaron Lee Lambert was great. And then finally, our little star that we need to mention because, oh dear,
our little Evita.
Our little Evita. We got to see Lois, right? Lois Haidar.
Lois Haidar as the child who comes in for a very, very small scene in the middle of Act 2. This little diva steals the entire show. This is the best. It is this child who comes on stage.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's like
the show closes tomorrow. You're probably not going to see it.
It might be on Broadway. So, or you might see it somewhere else. So, you be warned. This is one of the best moments in the show. Yeah, she comes in on stage dressed as baby Eva.
Yes, with the full white sequined gown, the blonde hair with the tight bun, and she sings this song about like Santa Evita, about how
Please, Mother Eva, hungry child. I could,
and I can't. I don't recall how this number is usually staged in the show. But not nearly as hilariously as it is here, because this little girl dressed as Evita walks on stage, microphone in hand, and walks up to these like two men on either side of her who are sort of these like government G-men with sunglasses on, and she just puts her hand out and they put like a giant stack of money in her hands, because this girl who was singing,
that she's just like
flipping through, counting her dollars, puts it in her pocket, and it's such this
like,
it's this genius way of like showing the way that like, yes, Eva Peron has had this massive effect and people love her, but also like, what other influence is she having on the children who worship her and want to be just like her?
For me, it's also like the control of the narrative, because what made me think, and why it was also one of my favorite moments in the show, was that it made me think exactly of a few months, I guess it was this year, a few months ago in March, but Rachel, right before doing this, was in Snow White, famously. And I remember there were a lot of events that were like, because again, the movie was so controversial with everything that surrounded it, and Disney was like so tight gripping on the image of Snow White specifically. Like, they didn't care about Rachel after the movie. But, so I remember they had these like little girls dressed as Snow White, and then people had to do it with like, they're paid actresses, and like, we probably were, who knows, they were whatever, but it was just so controlled, right, to like get the shot of like Rachel with little Snow White, and it made me think of that, and I was like, this is perfection, because it was this like, it made me think like, oh, it's a little girl dressed as a Disney princess
who's also getting her coin,
also getting her cash. So I thought that was brilliant and bold, and I loved it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, biggest laugh of the
and
show,
she just
sure.
like excellent comedic timing. I thought she had been in Matilda, but apparently she hasn't. Probably because she's not old enough. But like, she'll be in Matilda. You know it.
Yeah,
just you wait. And all three of them apparently. There's three that rotate, but we got to see Lois. So. Okay, so we're 30 minutes in.
Oh my god.
Let's move to the design really quick. We talked
a lot about the design and the staging, and people get on Jamie Lloyd for like, his shows are so minimal. Why do they cheap out? This show looked expensive as hell. What are you talking about? Like, in regards to the lighting, there was so much. There was a giant video screen, obviously used for Don't Cry For Me. We're going to talk about it. Don't worry. There was just some incredible like just there's no way you cheaped out on this.
No, and I will say that also on the minimalist Jamie Lloyd thing, I do think that even like better than Sunset, and I love Sunset, but like I do think that in Sunset I can understand why someone could miss the house in Sunset.
What do you mean miss the house?
Because the house in Sunset is a very like,
oh, you mean like the mansion, Norma Desmond's mansion.
And I do think that here there's nothing to really miss.
There's like, no icon, like the most iconic thing about Evita is the balcony, and we got the coolest balcony scene you've ever seen.
Because that's another thing, and like, you know, in a show like Sunset, you don't change settings that much. Mm-hmm. And in a show like Evita,
that is telling someone's whole life story
so much. And so I've seen productions where it's like
they try to build a set for every scene,
and it looks too small, and then others where you don't, but it's like, you know, the you still have the costumes, and like here it was just like devoid of all of that. It was just like, this is a new thing, and it's like this concert thing.
And they still utilize it super well. One of my like favorite moments in the show is, yes, they're on these like stair risers, but there's a moment in the second act where you can see everyone under the risers, sort of like peeking through.
Really?
Like, you didn't notice that? There were like lights, and like people were lit from behind, so you saw like their silhouettes, but like in between the space between the stairs, and they had their like fingers on like the mesh, like as if they were like trapped inside the stairs. Oh, I want to say it was after he gets the goop dumped on him.
Oh, I think I could
be totally wrong about when that happens.
No, I think you might be right. I think I was just engrossed with the goop.
But like, for as minimal as you may think that stairs are, they utilize the stairs are the point. Like we said, it's all about people rising up and down. Particularly early on in the show, after Eva meets Magaldi, the song "Goodbye and Thank You," where you see the story of how Eva begins to rise up, not just with Magaldi, but by meeting another man one stair up, who she also does a dance with. And then in the next verse, moves one stair up, dances with another guy dressed just like Magaldi until she's reached the top of the staircase by the end of the number.
And I think that's the thing. I mean, that's when it's one of the first songs, and that's when that idea is introduced of like, this is the class, you know... The
class structure of Argentina.
Argentina and people rising and falling. And then that becomes the language for the whole show, and that's just so freaking cool. That's such good directing.
So we talk about the balloons, too?
Well, but I just want to say really quick, like, it made you kind of... Not that it's always... Obviously, that this story has always been about class structure and class mobility and, like, power... But, like, it really nailed it with this set. And it's so simple, but it's, like, so well done.
Including the giant letters that come down that spell out Evita. It could say Taylor, and we'd be at a Taylor Swift concert.
Exactly.
There'll be a musical about her, too, someday in the same style.
Will it be good? So, anyways...
Can we talk about the balloons?
The balloons!
So, there is this is what again... Because Jamie Lloyd's direction is so minimal, because it's so non-literal, you can introduce concepts and like staging ideas that would not make sense in any other production. When we first meet Peron in The Art of the Possible, which is sort of this song about like the political people in power who are making moves, it's like this sort of like chessboard type number. But what you have is a line of men, political men, sitting on the steps, and behind them are all of these ensemble women who are holding white balloons that are filled with blue and yellow confetti. And over the course of the number, there is this woman dressed in white who I think sort of symbolizes like the military power of Argentina at the time, who just like with her fingers points at a balloon, pulls her finger, and like the balloon pops above their head, and that person falls over. And it's so kooky and weird, but you immediately understand it's like, oh, in this world, when people go against the machine or try to cause change, they're gone. The balloon above them pops, and what rains down on them is white and blue and yellow. And by the end of the number, everyone is dead except for Peron, who is the only one with the balloon above his head that doesn't pop. That motif comes back in later near the end of the act, when rather than the military being the one that pops the balloon, it's Eva and Peron together, who have just won the election. Eva takes the needle, pops the balloon, and when the balloon pops, not only does the balloon from the confetti fall, but the entire theater like goes off, cannons in every single corner of it, in white and blue and yellow confetti and streamers. And it's a very like and a lot of times it's like meant to be like a celebration in a show, and it is a celebration, but it's also a little ominous the way that suddenly we are now being
'cause you
showered
forgot,
with their liberty.
At the same time that this is also happening, we discover Che is like filled with blood. As well.
He's been pushed to the bottom of the stairs.
But then it's hard to see because why? Because there's like it's much.
You don't understand.
I had never.
You cannot see the stage because of how much confetti
I don't think
is
I've
coming
ever
down
been
on us.
under such much. I think maybe
So
in
much
a
confetti.
concert, but like it's different in a concert because it's a bigger space. So here it's like this, you know. I mean, the London Palladium is big, but not that big, and it's like you couldn't see all.
It's like looking at static through a television.
Because then there's that, and there's streamers. It's just like,
And the music is blaring and the lights are flashing in every place.
it's so freaking like exciting and truly electric. So again, never have seen a staging of this number in that way. It was just mind blowing. Let's best moments. This is a good best moment.
Let's talk about the balcony.
Let's talk about that balcony. So it's funny. Should we add the context to it? I kind of want to say, so we got to London on Thursday, and I really wanted to see her perform before we saw the show. We were going to see the show. We saw the show on Friday.
Yeah, because you've all seen online videos of Rachel Zegler in the show at the beginning of Act 2, walks outside to the balcony of the London Palladium, sings to the street. So everyone in the street, not people who bought tickets, but people who are just there in the West End are able to watch her sing this number.
And people camp out for like hours,
Yeah.
right? So it's crazy now. It's this whole moment, this whole conversation with the theater community. I love that.
And it's created a viral moment, and it's brought a lot of attention to the show, but it is not just a gimmick, is what we're here to tell you.
Exactly. So the cool thing is, so we were there. I remember it was like 2 p.m. We were like...
The show started at like 3 or
The
something?
show started at 2:30, so we would have to wait like an hour and a half, 2 hours. We were dying.
And
of
people
jet lag.
line up. It's like you can line up, wait all of Act 1, all of intermission, and people do, and we almost did it. But yeah, we were so jet lagged. We had just gotten off a 10-hour flight. We hadn't slept in like 24 hours.
We went to the
We had to
hotel,
go to the hotel and take a nap.
take
so
a
we
little
didn't-
nap, and then check into the hotel.
So we didn't get to see Rachel do it outside for real.
However, so then part of me was like a little FOMO, right? Because we weren't sure if we were going to be able to see her, but we were going to see her.
We were going to see the show the
inside,
next night anyway.
right?
Yeah.
So then the show comes, this amazing, end of Act 1 happens. But then during intermission, where you are is actually in it's like the second story. So literally where she eventually is, right?
Yeah, so we're hanging out in the lobby of the Palladium, and you can literally go up to a window. I actually went down to the bottom floor, so I stood outside the front
I
door.
was going to say, so eventually, so you can stay, you can get drinks. It feels very VIP, even though this is for everybody who bought tickets, but you can get a drink. It feels like this little bar that's upstairs, there's another bar downstairs, but you can also get your drinks upstairs and go to the shop and whatever. And then you can go down and you can actually, which I thought that was really cool they did, you can go outside to see. You can see outside, you can go outside the theater really quick. So we both stepped out and we just saw, this street is like completely,
literally thousands of people.
Yes, completely.
No exaggeration.
Completely
all the way down
filled.
both ways, all the way down the street that goes in front of the theater, covered with people.
And then, so you go back inside, right? And then the balcony scene starts, and we get this broadcast of Eva. Her first
Giant video screen comes down over the stairs.
And then Eva doesn't start in the balcony, but she starts in the same place you were standing getting drinks.
So you see her literally where you just were 5 minutes ago, but standing in the lobby before she walks outside.
And then she goes to the balcony, and then you see this shot, all these people that we just saw, and they're all holding their phones up. Right?
Yeah, because the camera you see her face, but it also, there's a second camera behind her, and you see over her shoulder. So you see her POV walking out in the balcony, and it just pans, and as far as you can see, it's thousands of people all holding up their phones.
Or just looking and basking, and it's such...
The entire theater on the inside went...
Yeah.
It's one of the most gasp-inducing theatrical moments I've ever had in a show.
And and again, I feel like every time that it's like discussed, it's like very like, it's just the broadcast, but I'm like,
it's
no.
a gimmick. People paid all that money to go see the show, and they don't even get to see the most famous song from the show. Shut up. It worked 100%.
And the beauty of it is, again, that you were in this space just right now, right? And then she is in it, and you're like, you're being made part of the story, both if you're in the audience or if you're outside, right? I felt, it's funny, and I part of me, and this is one of the coolest feelings, because as I was watching this, you know, the show talks a lot about like, and it make a little point to like another suitcase in another hall, right? There's this class mobility, and then there's the people, and then the people are in this like, you know, Ava rose and left stuff behind, and so I feel like when I was seeing that, it was like, oh, part of me wanted to be outside and I couldn't because I was inside, so I had more privileges, and I'm going to see her right after. But it was still, and I'm seeing another perspective, but I was like, oh, I'm never going to know what it feels like to be there. And like, and I can understand why people are enthralled, because part of me is like, oh, we could have been those people too, but we're not. And so that was just such a mind trip, and I loved that conversation between audience and the people outside and the lead actress. And so it's just so much more engaging that like people say it's a broadcast.
You're just getting a live stream.
Broadcast. And
because it is like framed, you get different shots. There's a shot where it's like clearly there's two ensemble members and you're seeing like their heads in the foreground and the camera right between their heads. So you see like the crowd perspective. You get a camera close up on her face. There's moments when near the end of the song, when she sort of like turns her head to the side and talks to this camera over here, where you know that she's like talking directly to us inside now, not the people outside watching the show, but the people inside watching the theater. Like she is aware, and she has full control of the narrative in this production of the show that is about how do people control their own image and their own narrative to the public.
And then she comes in a very, again, concert way. It's like we're seeing her kind of walk. Long story short, she is changing as she does this.
Yeah,
right?
The video stuff continues. That's what I didn't know.
The video stuff does continue
after Argentina,
and then eventually continues unto the point that she's on stage, and you just see so you're seeing the video, but then she's also right behind it, and so it's like it is in conversation with it, and I thought it was brilliant. And I also will say, I think it is the best staging of this number. A lot of people again criticize, oh, this is the biggest song. It's like, no, I would say vocally Rainbow High, which we'll talk about in just a second, is the biggest vocally like number.
Argentina is not the best song in Evita. I'm sorry.
I think it is. I think it is the most iconic. But
it is. This is, but I don't think it's the best song.
But I think the staging of it is usually, you can't do much. It's literally park and bark. It's like,
it's on the balcony.
It's on the balcony,
and then everyone's waving a white little flag in their hand on stage.
And
we've seen it.
But like we've seen it, every time that I've seen it, it's like she's on the balcony, she looks beautiful, and it's amazing. And she, if she can sing it well, and it's a beautiful song, it's great. Right?
But in terms of this being the number that solidifies her status as an icon to the people, staging this number in this way establishes like, oh, look at how Rachel Zegler, the person, has attracted all of this attention. Look at how all of us inside the theater are like in the palm of her hand as she's singing this number. It like that is how you express to an audience, look how powerful this person is. Look how much control they have. Would be bad if they fell from grace, wouldn't it? And then Act 2 is sort of about the way that she then falls from that peak moment up until her, spoilers, death.
So then, I think we have notes. Vocals are insane, and I think we should jump to...
Well, because right after Argentina, you get High Flying Adored when you see her like taking off her makeup, taking off the wig, taking off the dress. She cries in her hands, but then goes back on stage.
Love her.
And goes into Rainbow High.
And gosh,
blew the hair off my head, and it's going fast. I lost it.
So freaking incredible! Like that was a moment where I don't think I've ever like reacted so physically to like some like stuff she was doing. Like you can now listen to it because it's out.
The
today.
single's out, and they also announced that the album is coming out.
Yes. But Rainbow High, Rachel did some stuff that I literally went. Like, I literally had a moment of like, like I couldn't express like my feelings, and I just did this. God, that woman, like, and I again, everybody is fantastic in the show, but there's something. Rachel has like this thing, and I was going to mention it in her little section, but here it is because I think in this song it's like the most excellent and amazing. I remember somebody like described recently on Instagram, she was like, or a lot of people like, she has a gift. Like, it's not just talent, it's a gift. And I absolutely agree. I think what's amazing and what I love the best about Rachel Zegler's voice is that it's not only a beautiful voice, because I feel like a lot of people, sometimes it's like, either they have a naturally beautiful voice or they have like a very, very trained, amazing voice. And both of those things are very admirable in their own way. And what I think about Rachel Zegler, though, is that she has both a natural, beautiful, talented, amazing voice, and you can also hear the discipline and the control that she has. Like, the control that woman has is stupidly ridiculous. And I, like, as from a technique point of view, it's just like, how is she but also that she has the discipline and she's trained the F out of it.
She's going to be like one of like the stars we talk about for the next like 30, 40 years. Like,
yes.
she is, this performance establishes that Rachel Zegler is like a absolute force and is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Also, same, I think not long after that, I think we have Diego's vocal highlight, which is Money Keeps Rolling In.
Yes.
Which is I think personally my favorite song in the show. But he also like has this moment of just like absolute like high key belt and like does it like 2 times in a row. And he's also like laying on the ground holding this mic up to his face.
That way.
I
forgot about that.
Yeah. Again, like
crazy.
Both of them are just like, it's effortless, but it's not. It's also incredible discipline and youth and talent and gift. And I really do think like the first half of Act 2, the run from like Argentina into Rainbow High into Rainbow Tour, which is also the best I've ever seen Rainbow Tour stage.
So good. Feels like you're running.
Into like Money Kept Rolling In, into little Evita, like...
Yeah, it just flies by. Like, that's the thing. I feel like every time I've seen this show before, it's like, it lags. And there's moments where it's like, and in this staging, I was like,
edge of your
never
seat.
a moment.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, literally always like, what's going to happen next, right? And I think that's what makes it like truly a brilliant production, one of the best I've ever seen. Definitely, I think it is my favorite West End show that I've ever seen.
Really?
Well, Amelie has a very special place in my heart, and I think that one is also like maybe tied there.
But in terms of just like sheer unrelenting talent from like start to finish, you never stop wondering how they're going to wow you next, and they just raise like the steps on the stage. Their bar just keeps getting raised higher and higher and higher.
The energy was. I mean, there's also something of like when you go across the pond and see a show, and I felt it on Broadway too. And like you go to see a specific, there's an energy right there. But also here, it was like the show was just like bursting with energy. Like it's like there's no wonder why all the reviews are calling it like electric and electrifying, because it really is. It really is a show that I would think of like, wow. I felt like I went to a crazy ass concert.
You went to an event.
I went to an event. Like it truly was. Like it owned that event in it. So I really hope it comes to Broadway. I think everybody should see it on Broadway. I wish the best. We wish the best to this entire cast that's closing this weekend. And thank you. Thank you for giving us this gift. Thank you, Jamie Lloyd. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, the entire cast.
Thank you, Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Thank you.
Crazy how, like...
Let both happen, please.
Like, Jesus Christ Superstar, Evita, Sunset Boulevard, 3 of, like, the best things I've seen in the last year, and they're all Jamie Lloyd. So, a composer who I've always just been kind of mid on, but I think we're in the Andrew...
Revival.
We're in the ALW Renaissance, and I think it's because of the freedom of letting directors like Jamie Lloyd to just sort of mess it all up. Take what's established, take these images... Make your own thing out of it. There is like a malleability to Andrew Lloyd Webber's writing that I think we're in an era similar to like what we're doing with Shakespeare plays and have been. Of like you can really do a lot with these pieces if you could completely divorce yourself from the iconography. Look at the Cats that's coming back to Broadway, the Jellicle Ball Cats. Like, we're something really special is going on here.
And using, I will say, and we can end on the ending.
Yeah.
Using that iconography also, right? Using that, like, one of the things, a little shout out here, but like, one of the things I also, the ending of the show is weird, really weird. And I do think that this is the best staging of the ending of a show I've ever seen.
I don't think it's perfect. I don't think that even this production, as much as I love it, I don't think for me personally, like, fixes it in a way that sticks the landing. In the same way that Jamie Lloyd's Sunset Boulevard, I think, fixed the ending of that show.
For me, it really did fix, or at least the most it could fix. Like, the end, spoiler, is...
She dies.
She dies, but she is dressed again. Right now, you only see Eva dressed in the beautiful Dior dress and like the
blonde bob.
The blonde bob. Yeah. Only, not bob, like
ponytail.
Pony.
Yeah. High pony, tight little ball on her head.
Yeah.
Blonde hair back.
She wears it that only once for the balcony scene. Then she never really wears it for. You never see her in that until the very end, when she dies. In the last seconds of the show, she is dressed in it by the ensemble, almost like this. She's this like statue, right? As Che is telling us that like Eva died after she was kind of like sanctified by the people, and then her body disappeared for 17 years, which is
so weird.
Such a weird ending. But for me, I don't know. It might be the Catholic in me, but like. It made me think of like in Catholicism, it's a very, with sainthood is a very specific thing. And like there's this almost like tradition, fascination with bodies remaining incorruptible and not decomposing, right? You can look at it and Google it. And I think that for me, at least, this is what this told me. It's like this image of Evita. Her actual body disappeared for 17 years.
But the image is what stays.
But the image of like her incorruptible, perfect Dior gown bob.
And then she raises her hands up like this, and that's the final image of the show.
The saint, what became a saint like icon, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought that was a very cool ending. So, anyways.
I'm so glad we went to go see the show.
Me too.
We have another review for another West End show that we want to do. No spoilers on what it is, but also like completely worth the trip kind of a thing. Stay tuned. Subscribe to the channel. Check out our previous reviews. Our Jesus Christ Superstar review. Check out my Sunset Boulevard. Well, not we did. You were also in that. Check out the Sunset Boulevard video we did about the Sunset Boulevard staging outside the theater moment. Comment, like, subscribe, tell us what you want to see. We're back in LA now, but who knows, we may be back in the West End sooner than we think to see more things.
Hope so.
If you subscribe and like the channel, you want to hear more about these shows, right? Well, hit subscribe. All right.
And LA stuff.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye.